Mark, we're here to address the problem of omnipotence and why philosophers have a difficult time establishing its existence. And one question that was posed by a Islamic philosopher in the 12th century was, can God create a stone he cannot lift?
Yep.
What do you think of that?
Well, it puts you in kind of a difficult position because first off, you're stuck with two situations. One, God is creating a stone that he can't lift, but if he's God, he should be able to lift it. Or God is creating a stone that he can lift, but you're asking him to create a stone that he can't lift, which would seem inherently wrong for God to do. It leaves you with kind of a mess. I mean, the other side of it is you have to stop and consider what is doable within God's nature is different from what's doable in everyone else's nature. And then it becomes a question also of like motivation. Would God really even bother with all of this?
But do you think that we should actually define God in proper context?
Well, yeah, that's
and
what I'm
using
saying.
A frame of reference and using when we ascribe a object to be omnipotent, such as God, is it possible that we can ascribe that adjective just like we would ascribe a king to be omnipotent?
Well, yeah.
Which denotes the sovereignty. Yes,
yeah,
what I'm denoting is the sovereignty.
Within certain contexts, sure, the king is semi-divine, semi-self-actualizing person. Yeah, no reason why it wouldn't fit him. The oh god, there was one I was going to say that didn't fit though, although it surprised me, and I've lost it. Sorry.
You need to speak louder.
Oh, sure, louder.
Okay. I know. Okay, so we do need a proper context in which to ascribe God as omnipotent. We need to identify a nature that does exist, that God can exist in, a context that God can exist in. Do you think that that's the proper way of establishing God's existence in reality? Okay.
No, not really. For the simple reason that it's going to depend on whose axe is being ground. I mean, each person coming in with an argument as to whether it's this, whether it's that, is going to have their own agenda to play out.
Yes, but these questions, these philosophical questions about God's existence won't go away. Okay, and it's not just this question, can God create a stone he cannot lift? There's, if you read Omnipotence, on this companion here, okay, it does actually point out the flaws of omnipotence.
Yeah.
But those flaws are construed from imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And our imagination does not necessarily represent the actual nature of reality.
No.
That's what, and so that's what. So when we establish the existence of something, we need a frame of reference to put it in context.
Yeah, well, of course.
That's what my whole point is, Mark. I know.
Well, glad we got there.
Yes, I'm glad. I know, and I know. I do want you to conform to this concept. Okay, that.
Yes.
Because we need to establish the existence of God.
Oh.
Now,
Why?
Mark, why?
Why?
Because God is necessary for the species to survive.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for a reason?
Okay. Why?
Why?
Yeah. In light of how singularly unsuccessful the species has been, including bringing itself to the brink of annihilation, why would God want to stop the inevitable?
Do you think that God doesn't love humanity?
There are millions of people around the world, day in, day out, who love somebody dearly and cannot break that person out of the cycle of either alcohol or drug addiction. What makes you think it's any different with God looking down on his creation?
Do you think that God wants the species to continue to exist? Do you think that he would send servants to espouse his true nature?
Well, one would certainly hope so. But there's no real...
Do you believe that prophets exist?
There's no real way to know what God is thinking on this.
No, that's not... but see, that... then you're actually espousing that Moses didn't have any clue what he was talking about.
No, not at all. No, he spoke directly with God.
Okay,
God
that's so that okay. So was Moses a Homo sapien, a human being with neurons firing just like the rest of us?
Yeah.
So he spoke for God. What I'm actually denoting, Mark, is that prophets are human beings just like the rest of us. They exist, and yes, the concept is that these prophets accurately ascribe God's word. That's the argument.
Well, that's going to be one you'll have to do some real development on.
But see, but what's the alternative? That no, they're crazy. That's the alternative. That's what you're implying.
Not really.
I don't understand how you can.
I can see several options available.
What? What other options are you talking about?
Well,
either prophets were telling the truth about God, espousing a correct logic into what he wanted, or they didn't. That's exhaustive, Mark.
Or maybe it was just a case that they thought they did.
That means they didn't espouse the correct logic of God.
Well,
that's what I know,
again,
Mark.
Again, in that respect, we
Mark,
don't know.
What we don't know. No, I know. The concept is for you to get in the
There's a tremendous amount of information that we have about Israel and Israelite settlements and their collective identity through the period of the wanderings on up to, say, the time of who being tacked to the cross. It was a constant nebulous state on which you hung a few things.
I suppose what I'm trying to get at is that there is an inherent logic to establish the existence of God, and that these prophets adhere to that logic. And so they spoke for God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now either
that works.
You're still dealing with the exhaustive options. Okay. Did they were they crazy, or were they espousing a true sense of God? That's exhaustive, Mark. Okay, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, any yes, doubt that you were that you're espousing for the prophets, did they really espouse this true nature of logic? Okay, that's what you're actually denoting. That's the question.
That's part of it.
No, I think that's actually.
No, that's part of it.
Okay, does God exist or does he not?
Part of it is the standpoint that you have to realize that some of the prophets aren't who they say they are.
Does God exist or does he not?
Well, for me, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it exists for anyone else. I could be alone on this. Joke would be on me.
Do you believe that there is a truth to reality that exists independent of everyone's senses and everyone's ability to express that truth?
Yeah. And for want of a better way of putting it, how about you just as the Hindus do and say it's all Krishna?
Does this truth include the existence of God?
I would say in the majority of cases, probably with civilization, the way it's come down to us through the history, yeah, it's more than likely that, yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be that way. I mean, you look at the tremendous advancements in Buddhism, which basically doesn't even talk about God at all.
Okay, so when you say it doesn't has to be that way, what?
You could see.
Okay, so you're still dealing with the dichotomy of does God exist or does he not? If he exists, then no, you can't logically deny his existence. If he doesn't exist, then no, you can't logically say that he does exist.
Mm.
Do you understand that?
Mm.
That's how it works. I know that's how, and this is what I'm actually trying to say. What I'm doing with reality is it yes, we can create an exhaustive dichotomy. And that's what reality needs to be. And by the way, Aristotle, this is Aristotle's whole ordeal too. This is from Aristotle as well. Is creating this reality. And yes, you're creating this dichotomy just like you do everything else. It's 0 and 1, true and false, true or false, good and evil. Okay, all of these dichotomies exist in reality, and they create a frame of reference. That's what it is. And establishing the existence of God does falls under this dichotomy. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily have to.
It either does or it doesn't. That's what I'm trying to say. There is a truth. God exists or he doesn't. My thing is about establishing God's existence in proper context to how he can exist in reality. And that's what discussion does, okay, is to establish this existence.
Speaking of which, how long has that been running?
55 minutes, 22 seconds. Okay, great.
We should probably be wrapping this up any second now.
Great. No, but I know, Mark, I'm trying to put this video on YouTube, okay? Because I'm trying to get people to listen to this conversation. Okay, so let's continue it. Okay, it's a
no.
Or actually, let me finish off by asking you the question: can God create a stone he cannot lift?
Yeah, sure. Builds one big enough. He's not actually lifting. He's being pushed away from it. He's standing there on Earth. He pushes on this great big huge rock, and it's the planetoid he's standing on that's moving, not the rock that he created.
Great. Thank you. That's all I wanted.